milked them 26 years. 26 years now. Well, not fleck these for 26 years, we've been milking for 26 years. I grew up with quarter horses and Appaloosas. The first photograph of me was 2 days old on Absorti. My dad. I got my first stud at 15 years old, started standing them at 16 years old. For those of you with math, that's 29 years that I've been standing studs. It's hard to believe that I'm that old already. Longtime ABA board member and the current president. Grew up riding horses, like I said. My first horse was given to me by my mother, 10 years old. Roman-nosed, meaner than heck. I think she thought 2 kids was better than 3. And she'd go along 2 or 3 weeks, pretty good, until she decided she was going to get rid of me to the red pine plantation. Believe it or not, I was Roman-nosed as well, so I'd stay on. I'd come home 10, 11 years old, bawling, my hands bleeding. My big brother, he's 5 years older, he would take her out and renegotiate the situation. She'd be good for 3 weeks or so. He'd do it again. So that was the first horse that I had, and it was the first horse I culled. That's going to be important later on in the talk. You know, yeah, she was mine, and she was double registered, and she was pretty other than that big Roman nose, but she wasn't right between the ears. So that's going to come back in the talk. So anyways, I always wanted to drive horses, always wanted drafts. We had a dairy farm, and then we didn't have a dairy farm, we had a hobby farm, and we had riding horses, and Dad was a much older father and a southern father, and we didn't have no time for drafts. And we rode horses, and we bred quarter horses and that. So I thought one day some hames were given to me in a collar, I'm sure nothing fit. We looked at the old pictures and it didn't fit. And I drove my quarter horse, he's Peter McHugh bred quarter horse Appaloosa, and it was a joke. And we had another horse named Tubbs. He tried to kill me a lot because I didn't know what I was doing. He was kind of bad. And drove him some too, but I lived through it because I could run then, believe it or not. And we got pictures of that skin pulp in that red pine plantation when they were thinning it. So that's my background. And we went to River Falls, and I met my wife, Katrina, from Minnesota, a long time ago when we were kids. And we started farming. And farming took over, and we listened to what we learned at the university, and we got bigger and bigger and bigger, and milked more cows, and milked 3 times a day. I didn't have any time, and my horses stood out in pasture for almost 10 years. I'd go roll around, bail out for them. Yep, still alive. Really, I can't stress how poor the management was. Catch them every 6 months and see if their feet need to be trimmed. Maybe ride twice a year. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, I'm almost 30 years old. I'm not doing what I wanted. Still not driving horses. I was always going to get draft horses tomorrow. I was going to do it next week. So I went and talked to a friend of mine, and I said, I know a little bit about horses. I know nothing about draft horses or driving. I need a really worn out, broke Amish horse that might keep me alive. And he said, it was smart of you to say that, and I can probably find you something. A few days later he did, and that was my first draft horse, and it's a long story from there. And she was good. Looking back now, she was just a big farm chunk Belgian. She took care of me a lot, and I didn't know. I liked it. Went good. She was good, so I bought some more. I didn't realize now there's 5 different types of Belgians. At that time, there was 4 different types of Belgians in the country. And the next ones I bought were not. They were hitch Belgians, and they tried to kill me quite a few times. And I started thinking, gentle giant, these things are hotter than my riding horses. You can't get past an ag bag, without dying. That plastic flaps, you best hang on. This ain't right. And I seen it a VH tape. About half of you in here will know what a VHS tape. About half of you in here know what a VHS tape is. I was watching this VH tape with this skinny little lady from out east, talk funny, and named Karen Grutter. And she founded the American Brabant Association in 1999. And she was talking about these European Belgian Brabants. And she coined the term Brabant for this country just to differentiate them from the American Belgian at the time. I don't know if she ever dreamed that someday we'd have our own registry. At that time, we didn't need our own registry. American Belgian Corporation of America was registering anything you brought from Belgium. There's a lot of our early imports that didn't come from Belgium. They came from Denmark, run them through Belgium, register them in Belgium. Now the American Belgian Corps will take them. Now they're registerable over here. Ooh, I bought mine from France, or I bought mine from Germany. Run it through Belgium. Get it registered there, and we'll register it over here. A lot of that stuff went on. But as time went on, they never really wanted our horses, did they? They were so much different than what the Belgian Corps vision is, which, by the way, does not resemble their breed standard. They have a breed standard, and even on the top of their registration papers, their horse doesn't look like what's on the top of the registration papers. They don't follow their breed standard anymore. Not what we consider, and we're entitled to our opinion, and they're entitled to their opinion, they're entitled to their vision, as well as Europe. But they don't match up. So, a little bit of the history of the American Brabant Association. It was formed in 1999 by Karen Gruner. She was by no means the first one to import a horse, but she got the organizational part of it going to get all these people together that had these horses that were either imported or percentage horses of the crosses thereof. A man named Albert Stankiewicz imported a stud and a mare. I have a couple studs. In fall of '72. And he showed them around a little bit, and they got some publicity. They were actually in Draft Horse Journal, I want to say. And a lady named Ann Harper took notice, and she's like, wow, he's right. And Albert Stankiewicz's theory was he didn't like what was happening to the American Belgian, and he thought we needed to bring some bone and brains back and calm them down a little bit. And so he went back to Europe in the fall of '72. Now, mind you, nothing came over that anybody's aware of that we could find from 1939 to 1972, so that's 33 years. Well, how much can it change in 33 years? Well, apparently a lot. We have the photographic evidence to show. So from 39, you had the war, another massive narrowing of the gene pool in Europe and die-off, and after the war, Europe was starving and hungry, and they were interested in a meat horse. Europe drove into the meat horse ditch. America, after the war, we're making money. Why would you farm with horses, young man? Get yourself a John Deere, get yourself a Farmall, maybe even an Alice if you're from Wisconsin. And they drove into the showroom ditch. There was no money left in the farm horse. There was no desire. Well, I'm making so much money wiring or pouring concrete, and I don't want to show, that's not for me. I'm gonna pull horses. I got Grandpa's old mares, and I found one that's bigger yet. I want to win that pull. I want to beat so-and-so. So after the war, you were left with the hitch people, and you were left with the pullers, and a few knotheads that still thought we could use them, and the plain folks, the plain communities, the Amish, the Mennonites. Well, the American Belgian Corporation is predominantly controlled by the hitch classes. That's where the money was. Usually stuff follows the money. So guess what was promoted? Guess what there was the most money in? Guess what there was the most publicity in, the most prestige? When you could afford a semi, stick 6 geldings in it, they did absolutely nothing except go to the show. They could change, and you could feed them grain. And they didn't have to look the same, and you could afford grain. They didn't have to work. In fact, you didn't want to work them all week. Because when you hit that show ring on Saturday, you wanted their feet up, and you wanted their head up. Because you were tired of losing to the Clydesdales, and the Shires, and the Perchins. You wanted their feet up, you wanted their head up, you wanted to look good. Well, we still aren't beating them. And that's another discussion we're not going to jump into today, but there was some questionable breeding to change a breed that much in 33 years. And some tight selections to change a breed that much in 33 years. So I'll stop right now and let the 5 current types of Belgians in America, in our country, come in. First one coming in is a 2-year-old. She's been broke for 6 months. She's 2.5 years old. And she is a good, modern representation of a hitch horse. She's what they want. Look at them legs, folks. When she hits the show ring, the knees will be just about hitting the neck yoke. Look at all that power. Next, we have a farm horse or a puller, whoever comes in next. Come on in. Oh, we have the farm horse. His name's Pat. She's been in the woods with us before. Pat is good. She is about, I want to say, a 6-year-old Belgian mare. She has no paper. She's owned by a plain community. She's had a couple babies. She's broke a couple horses and trained a couple Amish boys. Keep going on down by the hitch if you wouldn't mind, Wyatt. Next, we should have a puller if he's here.
He's getting his other mares.
Okay. So we'll bring Callie in. We'll put her in the middle. She is an American Brabant. And I will explain what that means in a minute. Callie is also 2 years old. I was not going to bring in a 2-year-old hitch horse and a 2-year-old 94% European and then bring in a mature American Brabant and say, oh, look how good our horse looks. We're bringing in a 2-year-old against a 2-year-old against a 2-year-old. Ted is not a 2-year-old. The puller's not a 2-year-old. I'm just saying that up front. Can anybody see any difference between those 2 2-year-olds yet? I understand genetically they're all Belgians. So their genotype, and we may dispute that in a few minutes, is all Belgian. But honestly, their phenotype is not. How the genes express themselves, who made the decisions for breeding, are not. You can see the difference. We should have a puller coming, and we have our 94% coming. And here comes the puller. Josh, you can slide down a little bit, put room for the puller over next to Pat. You wouldn't mind? We'll put Ginger right here. There's Dave Myers, longtime board member. He imported 100% horse to breed more American Brabant. This is a high percentage, 94% mare. 2 years old, 2.5 years old. She's had 6 months in harness. Mike Jordan from West Virginia drove all night to get here with a typical pulling bred mare. And I'll get into this too. This would be considered a lightweight pulling bred mare for your 3,200 pound classes. Go down between, on the other side of Cali. You're all right. Pullers are only used to going 27 and a half feet. She didn't like that. Ooh, that's a bad statement. So here's your 5 types of Belgians. We thought it would be valuable. Can you guys turn them all and face westward? Can we get a profile? We thought it would be valuable for people to just see the difference. We worry sometimes because there's people in Europe now re-importing backwards, trying to clean up their own leg problems. There's several people. We wonder what horses they're importing when they talk to the authorities over here on what's the best horse. Can you guys see the difference? Can you turn and face south? Look at the feather on the 94%. We'll talk about that in a minute. Look at the amount of feather, 2.5 years old. Look at the legs on this 2.5-year-old. Look at the hop step difference. Look at the muscling on this. Now, granted, this is a mature horse. How old, Mike?
She's 6.
7 years old. Had a couple colts?
Yes.
Pet had a couple colts, farm horse. I know for a fact Pet has pulling bred in her. But she's just a farm horse. No idea how much. And here's your hip horse. Yes. Yes. We can't. Why don't you start, Mike, Dave, start a loop around this arena, have him walk. Josh, you follow. Now, I shouldn't have had Dave lead, you'll see why here in a second. But no, I'm not picking on Dave. That's how they breed them. Slow, lethargic. In Germany, they're considered a beginner's horse. Everybody goes through training, and they start through with a cold blood, a very cold blood, a beginner's horse. Right there it is, folks. That doesn't mean she can't spook and run away. It just means generally they're very slow and lethargic. Why would you want a slow and lethargic animal when 85 to 95% of the colts you breed every year go to the meat pen? They gain faster. Why are you not worried about the legs? We'll just kill the ones that have a problem. You can line back up when you want. You see the easy walk with this American Brabant? You see the puller? She has a pretty easy walk. Mike's a good trainer though. I guarantee you slap a collar on her and put some weight behind her, she'll come alive. And here's Pat. She's done it all, seen it all. Just glad to get a day off. And Aaron's got the hitch horse. If I put the buggy whip to Aaron and that horse, you'd see beautiful action, but Aaron would have his hands full. We just won't do that right now. So what is an American Brabant? An American Brabant is a cross between a European Belgian and one of those American Belgians, and that's a cross. Well, what do you mean? Well, what's the difference between a European Belgian and an American Belgian? We consider these imported pre-1939. I shouldn't turn my back to the crowd. I apologize. These are imported post-1972. Her father was imported in 2016. We're seeing a difference from the horses we imported in the late 90s to the horses we're importing now. And they are different than the horses we imported in 2004. It's kind of interesting that everybody on the board, on the American Brabant Association, that's on board with the direction we're going, has already imported horses a while ago, went through the entire process and the agony of putting a horse down that you love. And these are lovable horses. And they will give you, they have a lot of heart. But the legs are an issue. And you can't make them what they're not. They are generally a slow plow horse. This horse is a little more utilitarian, like a Leatherman or a Gerber tool. You can just do it. You can't. Callie is more than likely never going to beat that horse in a horse pull at maximum weight at 27 and a half feet. She's never going to pick her feet up at that horse around the show ring. She's never going to look as flashy. She's never going to look as massive as that horse down there. She's never going to have that wow effect. Look at the bull, look at the mass, look at the amount of feather, the pom-poms on the bottom of them legs. Screaming, look at me. And that's what it is in Europe too, make no mistake. They show them, they eat them, and maybe, what did Manu say that night on the call, guys? 2 or 3% of the people maybe work them? It wasn't much. Two. So here you go, 5 different types of Belgians, except this one might not be a Belgian anymore. The American Brabant is not a Brabant. The Brabant is a term Karen Gruner brought over here from there. Why did she pick that term? Because she couldn't say the others. They didn't roll off the tongue like Brabant. So what was the original European horse that made up the Belgian stud book? You had the Flemish horse out by the sea, 17 hands in a ton. You had the Brabanders from the area of Brabant, 16 hands to 16.3, 1,600 pounds. And interestingly enough, after 2 world wars, it seemed like them genes made it through the best. There was a lot of area of Brabant left. That term seemed to have stuck a lot. And you had the Ardennes from the forest and steep land, 14.2 to 15.2, 1,250 pounds. Interesting that steep, rough terrain sported a smaller horse, the coastal sported a bigger horse, and the farmland had a stocky 1,600-pound horse. Well, I said the American Brabant may not be all Belgian anymore. We have accepted over 55 Persian mares into our registry as brood mares. Why would we do that? Because the CPL leg problem is that serious. We have to take drastic steps. We've been advised this by geneticists. We've been advised this by experts in Europe, long-time breeders. You're not going to get your hands around this problem with any way except bringing in different genes. Dr. Kirsten, because I assume she's a doctor now because this was her PhD thesis, I assume she passed. She wrote a PhD thesis a number of years ago, did a big study, huge study, that people collaborate with her. 100% of their stallions and 86% of their mares exhibited symptoms of CPL by 5 years old. How are you going to get out of that problem genetically without outcropping? You can't. You got to make drastic steps to address the problem.
Right there.
Right there. You know. We started a leg evaluation system. It's the same as yours, but we plug the numbers in. We use the system, and we call it what we call it. We're counting the leg folds, we're counting the nodules, we're also examining the skin, the swelling, the loosening of the skin. I'm so far off this thing, guys, I don't even know where I'm at. It's just like, you know, I don't know. Mom said they would have put me on ADHD in school. She just beat me, I don't know. So you got your 5 types. Most of this change came post-World War II. In 33 years, they went from this in 39 to that by 72, prompting people to be scared enough to import more of them. Try to pull the ship back in the other direction. So I think I talked about everything. I got through all these pages without any. Let's see, okay, I should probably go back and look at my notes. For about 170 years, since the 1850s, the Germans were importing Belgians into Germany. They were Belgium's #1 customer. Some years, it says in the books, anywhere from 50 to 150 stallions a year going into Germany. America was their second customer. They never sold their best. They kept their best. Their second best went to Germany. Their third best went to America. Until Germany invaded and took a few of the best. But not trying to start any old fights. They were sought after through the whole world. Germany, Czech Republic. You have the Czechoslovakian Bavarian Belgian, the CMBs, based off of a little horse named Peru. Probably a 1,250, 1,400 pound horse. All these European countries, and America and Canada, all influenced by the Belgians, by different degrees. So what did this super horse, when there was no John Deere 4020s, no 766s to jump on and just finish that field work up quick tonight? What did that super horse that fed the world, fought wars, moved all the freight, that everybody wanted, what did that horse look like? Can you turn your horse sideways, Josh? Oh, this is not going to be really fair. Can you turn your horse sideways, wife? Because she's 2. She's not fully mature. And we don't know with the farm horse exactly what's in there. They wanted a horse that appeared to have a short back. It appeared to have a short back because the shoulder was sloped back and it had an ample front end. And it had such a long hip coming forward that it made the back look short. You still wanted length underbelly though. She's got to carry a pole someday. She has to eat a lot of roughage, because I'm a simple peasant farmer. I can't afford to feed 5-gallon buckets of grain. So she has to have a barrel. Every stockman in here knows how them narrow beef cows finish out, Wes. Can't do it on grass. Forage. She has ample muscle. She's got 30 days in harness. She's probably been broke 12 times. That's natural muscle. That isn't even weightlifting yet. We want their depth. She ain't there yet. From here to here, to be equal from here to here. We don't want a long leg. I'll show you why in a second. We want an ample hip. We don't want, can you turn your horse around and face south, Aaron? This is, keep in mind, I'm not offending anybody. If you want something different, there's people to support you. This is our vision in the ABA. We don't want the hot tucking. We don't want legs longer than the depth of the body. We want ample muscling in the rear end. But I've had you turn yours white because she's a mature mare. Look at this mare. You guys know that, you know that shed we're having all the events in up there? This mare was in Rhinelander pulling pine logs that would scare you. On terrain that would scare you. I believe our photographer was there seeing them train in that valley. Look at her depth to her length. This mare will get 12 inches off the ground scratching. She's never been shot. She's never been whipped. She's just in here. And she has the body to do it. She has a long body. She can carry a pole and have room for the pole. Look at this confirmation of the puller. Same thing. Look at the powerhouse in the rear end. And like I said, this is a lightweight. This would be in the 3,200 pound class. They would shrink this horse and make her fit, wouldn't they? And there again, I lost myself. We'll get back in a second. We want clean legs. You can turn, Dave, if you want. Why do we want clean legs? We had the geneticist on the board. Some members asked us, talk to this geneticist. He's going to set you guys straight. So we had him on there. He told them, no, we don't know where the gene is. We can't prove genetically CPL is genetic. So we had him on. He said, no, we can't prove it's genetic. We can't find the gene. Next sentence out of his mouth. But we know it's genetic. Because 100% of them have it. You can't tell me 100% of people don't know how to manage the stud in the home country. The more massive the bone, the more massive the feather, the greater your chance of having CPL and the more aggressive CPL. We know that from palpating hundreds of horses. Look at the feather on this horse. Look at the feather on this horse. This is what we were reporting 100 years ago, 120 years ago. Not much feather on that horse. So why would that horse still be useful to us? Because if you have a major CPL problem and you cross it on something like that, you're going to get her mom. How do I know? Because I've been doing it 15 years. And I had a few culls that we had to cull. We had some gems too. That's what we want. What else do we want? Confirmation. Properly sloped. Back shoulder with a nice seat for the collar. This horse hasn't even worked much. She's already developing a seat for the collar. Look at the seat for the collar on that thing. I don't have small hands, I don't have big hands. You lay my whole hand in there. Same with that puller. I don't know about the hips. I have a hard time looking over there. And that's just my opinion. I'd say I'm sorry for being opinionated, but you lie. So, when the world was powered by draft horses, and there was no horse to fall back on, that's what Europe and America wanted to import. You got to think about that. So the people that had no other option but to feed the world, to fight the wars, and move the freight with horses, chose this. They developed that over hundreds of years. You're telling me we perfected the horse after we quit using it? We didn't perfect the horse after we quit using it daily. We just made it to our heart's content. We made it to our heart's content because we didn't have a purpose. We had outside income. We could do what we wanted. Let's do a little experiment. Here you got an ample horse's hip and a leg. I've been in a couple Facebook discussions. You got to have a longer leg to get under a load. Taller horse, longer leg to get under a load. I said, no, a shorter leg gives you more power. Absolutely not. We could actually be done with these horses. You guys don't have to stand around all day. If you want to take them back, I think we can just wing it from here. Everybody gets the idea of the differences. Let you guys out of here. I'm going to pick on some relatives because I don't want to tear anybody's rotator cuff. Mom just had a surgery. Ain't too fun. I'm going to pick on relatives that probably wouldn't sue me. Daniel, my first cousin, could you come out here? Is my wife here? Could you come out here? We're going to prove a point. Michael, are you here? You got drafted. Let's prove scientifically what Jason's saying, if he's right or wrong. Okay, we got a lightweight puller coming first. Mare, couple pulls. Yeah, looking great. Blue ribbon. So what we want you to do, here's the power. Up here. Here's the distance from the power. Want to see how much weight you can pick up, hold up, maybe 1/1000. Don't rip anything. On our insurance. Nope, we got to be equal now. You get right to the end of the pipe. That way it's a fair experiment. I know, you're short. Nope, straight on. Can you take more weight than that, or is that enough? Try to go up a little more. One more time. You have kids, you can do it. Is that enough weight? No, is that enough? Okay. Okay. Well, what if we cut 6 inches off our legs? What if we breed a little shorter horse? Try that. We just made her 16 hands. We just made her 16 hands instead of 17 too. How's that go? Want to try a little more weight? We just made her 16 hands instead of 17 too. We took 6 inches off. I even used the tape measure at the drill press, guys. Pretty good for me. We just doubled her weight. That's enough though? I don't have enough increments to weight. You guys get the point? We just made her stronger by getting her closer to her power. Daniel, we're going to start you out right here because you're in the heavies. These are heavyweight pullers.
That's a polite way of calling me fat.
No, you're in the heavies. I didn't say you were in shape or not. Can you try to hold that up for 1/1000? Okay, we're going to load that boy up. Oh, wait, you got to start off as a pony. Let's put you back out there with the long way. How's that one? A little heavier? We even add more weight. Of course, there's no. Try to hold it 1/1000 when you get up there. Want more weight or not? Is that pretty much getting towards the max? So now let's take you down from 6 whatever. Let's take you from 17 2 hands down to 16 hands. Let's take 6 inches off your leg. All off the leg, not the body. Any problem or is that lighter? A little lighter? Heaven forbid you guys ever have to pull against the pony. So let's take 6 more inches off. Off the leg. Easier yet? Move the weight closer to you, didn't we? Thank you guys, thank you. Now let's talk about changing the conformation for action in the show ring. Now, if you want to walk 6 horses in the field plowing, and you want to walk all day, you want a horse with a good walk, correct? Not a slow walk, not a clumsy walk, a good walk. Michael, can you do a comfortable walk down and back? How hard is that, son?
Very easy.
How long do you think you could do it?
Along the way.
Could you do it 8 hours pulling a little red wagon?
Yes.
Probably. Okay, but it's going to rain, and it's cold out, and I want you to jog back to the barn. Just jog nicely. I want you to have the ability to jog. Whatever your natural jog is. Man, you are related to me. Could you do that quite a while, son? What about if Dad was yelling at you? You do it a little longer yet, right? Okay, jog again. Now I want you to do marching band, like your brother. Knees up, come on, knees up, come on! Did that bother anybody? It looks equally ridiculous when you chase your horses around the sale barn, trying to make exaggerated motion. You maybe get one more bid. Come back, knees up, arms up. How long could you do that? What if I put weight behind you and you have, no, you gotta keep going like that. Come on! How long could you do it? But it sells, it looks flashy, look at me. We got shiny everything. That's fine. If that's your vision, that's fine. But don't call it the same as a farm horse. At least admit it's different. Just a simple experiment to prove. Physics matter. Where am I at here? We have, when I was talking earlier about the horse from 120 years ago, we have photographic evidence. Anybody interested afterwards, come over, I'll show you the books. Artist renditions before 1892, photographic evidence since 1892. The modern European Belgian that you've seen on the end, unfortunately is not needed for its original task. So the conformation can change to the whims of the show ring in the meat market. CPL, you guys heard me mention that a couple times. Chronic progressive lymphedema. I'm going to do it in layman's terms. There's no letters before my name. I'm a farmer, a breeder, stockman, and that's what I am. I'm not, no letters before my name. Chronic, meaning it's ongoing. You don't get rid of it. Progressive, it's going to get worse. It's going to keep going and get worse. Lymphedema, the plugging of the lymph nodes in the legs. They're essentially clogging. They're not functioning. They're not flowing. How could you? So when they do that, you start pooling fluid. How could you make that better? Let your horse get fat, stand around in a mud lot? No. Keep it in shape. Keep it moving as much as you can. Help the circulation. Same in humans. Keep the circulation going as good as possible for the bone structure, for the building you have there, that horse that you have there, how he's built. Chronic progressive lymphedema. There's no treatment. Well, there is treatments, and there's management. There's no cure. You're managing a sinking ship. You may get a mild case, and your ship's just going to go on forever, and the bilge pumps can keep up. You might get a mildly aggressive case, and you manage it right, and you're going to go on quite a while. Kind of like we're doing with our Holly horse. She's got a pretty aggressive case. We keep her thin. Lord knows we keep her worked. She has the best mind. She's the closest to her 100% European father. We break all our horses with her. I can't say anything bad about Holly. I wish she didn't have them legs. She will be in the ground early. She won't suffer here. People breeding this indiscriminately, I think it's heartless. To ignore the problem and just keep breeding it. When you see horses with maggots in their legs, broken skin, and exudates, oozing, how is that being a good? Well, we're managing that. We're running saltwater baths every day, or every other day when we get the maggots out and stuff. How many farmers have time to saltwater bath 8 horses every other day? It just isn't going to happen, so the horses are going to suffer. So we have to change what the horse looks like. Creates a bunch of secondary problems once you start pooling fluid. You break the skin. So you have all different kinds of names, which aren't always accurate. But you have hyperkeratosis of the skin getting dry and flaky and scaly, skin cracking, then the mites and maggots can get going. Drainage, swelling of the legs, misery, lameness, and eventually death. They go second. There's no cure for it. I told you about the PhD thesis as early as age 5, hence the dilemma. Is the European Belgian better? Or perhaps one of the American Belgians? Or is the answer somewhere in the middle of the road? In the ABA, we think it's in the middle of the road. We're trying to breed the pre-World War I horse, if we can. At least the pre-World War II horse. We want the clean legs. We want the power. We want the brains. We're not very needy. That's just what we want. We don't care about the show ring. Our show yesterday was a joke. If we put it online, the other associations would laugh. It's because it wasn't a show. It was a confirmation class. We were lining them up saying which confirmation we like best. That's what we're about. I did my 2 experiments. Why do we do this in the ABA? First of all, the interest is unbelievable. I don't know if it's a second back to the land movement or what. I get calls constantly. My wife loves it. Always on the phone. We get calls constantly. All of us do. If I had 50 mares bred next spring, they'd all be sold. Every colt will be sold. There's so many people that want a sane, calm horse that's easy to train, that they can throw a harness over. I already had rotator cuff surgery. I'm 70, I'm 60. I want to be able to throw a harness over. I can't get it over that one on the end. I'd like me a 15-3 and 16-1 horse. That's calm. The interest is unbelievable. So yes, we are trying to fill a need. Notice I never said color yet. Our horses excel in a variety of tasks. They're excelling at field work, logging, ecological logging, sleigh rides, wagon rides, weddings, parades, under the saddle. We have an outfitter out west that's using 8 of these on his outfit. They're packing the heaviest riders day after day after day at high altitudes. They're holding up. He's now using a 2-year-old stud to pack dudes. I don't even know if he's telling them it's a stud. Beginning of the summer, he's breeding mares. He took them up one day and broke them. They said they're going to take him up on Monday morning and break him to ride. At 10:30 my time, he sent me a video of his son riding down the trail on a trail ride. That's a mine. A week later, all their girl wranglers were riding in love with him. Boys didn't even have a chance. The girls were in love with that little stud colt, riding. And he said by the end of the summer, they're packing dudes on him. 2-year-old stud colt. That's a mine. Many of our mares are doing this. Our mares work year-round. We use our head. Their loads get lighter towards the end of their gestation. They work year-round. But when it's time for them to foal, they have a foal. It's not an issue. They're in shape. They're not fat. They work year-round, producing a colt most years, many of our horses. Many of our people, besides being back in the farm people, maybe are concerned about the environment. That's great. Name me a clean energy that doesn't require any parts or mineral sources from other countries. is self-renewing, runs on renewable fuels, is completely decomposable when its useful life is over. When it has a major industrial leak, is a benefit to our soil and not an environmental catastrophe. If you're worried about how slow tasks would be, with even a partial shift back to animal agriculture, and you are right, it would be slower. There's 600,000 to 1 million plain folks in this country still getting their work done this way. Here's the caveat. It would take many more people taking an active part in their food production. It may even take an entire family in a lot of cases working together. Because horses get tired, they may have to stop at the same time and even eat lunch together. The children may have to learn responsibility. You have to go back out and give that horse all the water it wants. They only gave it a few drinks when it's hot. Run back out there and give it all it wants now it's cooled down. They might have to learn responsibility and help their parents. They may learn where their food comes from. Society would definitely look different with a shift back to slower agriculture, but I doubt very much it would be a bad thing. It takes skills and practice to use horses safely. I often liken it to learning an instrument. I can go buy a violin today. Anybody want me to try walking on it? You'd rather I practice about 5-6 years before you listen to me? Same thing with horses. You can go buy some, but if you don't put the time in and you don't get the instruction you need, even if they're broke, you're now the weak link. A team is 3. 2 horses in a team, sir. It's a 3-legged milk stool. You need to go get the training that you need so you don't screw them up or get yourself killed. Or get yourself killed. I'll buy the horses at the sale, whatever. But you can get hurt bad with these things. It's a skill. You need to learn it. You can't learn it overnight. But when your skill level does rise and you start to accomplish tasks with your horse, there's a sense of self-worth and pride that is hard to describe. A few motorhead freaks are like, look at my tractor pull. A few of them. But none would have the passion of Pat pulling the pine logs out. People ask me why I do it, why I work so hard for this breed for so many years. I have a couple of answers. These horses are worth it. They deserve recognition. They deserve an organization behind them, keeping track of their genetics, giving them some recognition. When people keep track of something, it usually gets taken care of better. How many people here write checks unlimited, you never put anything in the ledger or balance your checkbook? Susan, don't raise your hand, that's bad business. But seriously, when you write checks, you should record it and keep track of stuff. It's good business, right? Same thing with the ABA. We're not looking to keep a bunch of pride on this plain farm horse. We're looking to keep track of genetics, keep track of lineages. Oh, they are half brother and sister. Maybe I'm going to look elsewhere for a stuff. I believe in them, and they trust me. It's my passion. They need an organization behind them. I think it's a wise and stable form of power that can be seen locally, indefinitely, insulated from long supply chains and intricate parts that may or may not be here in 6 weeks. It's energy independence on a scale provided to us by our Creator. Now for my selfish reasons. I am a small farmer. I'm always going to be a small farmer. My wife and I got out of university and we were going to be big farmers. That was fun. I can't keep enough horses to have a viable gene pool. Can't. So I need to keep track of, in some cases I don't need to cultivate, in some cases I need to cultivate new people. Some cases I don't need to cultivate, I just need to find and keep track of them. We need to get a dedicated group of people throughout this continent. I say continent because we have a lot of horses in Canada already. At least breeding and using. When I say using, I mean using and using hard. That is testing. They make new Chevy and Dodge trucks, they send them out to some 21-year-old that makes YouTube videos, and they destroy them to find out what's weak and what's strong. We need these horses used and tested. And then the ones that aren't quite up to par, fine, they can be a horse, but maybe they don't need to be a breeder. So we keep improving the working horse. I need that small, dedicated group of people doing this with different genetics than me. So when I need different genetics, I can go to them and be assured that that is a quality animal and both parents have been working. You ask hunting guys, do you buy coon hounds out of non-coon hunting parents? Bear hounds, anything? You always want the parents to be working. You want them to be tested before you buy offspring. That's what I need. I need a group of people in this country doing the same thing we're doing, creating good genetics that we can tag. And then when they need genetics back, they need to know that when they get something from me, it's good, or I'll replace it, or I'll admit to it, or I've already told it so they don't get jumped. Notice I never mentioned color. Color has nothing to do with it. You can get sunglasses, whatever color you want. Buy different glasses. Now for our most scarce resource, holding us back. I mentioned this. We need to develop and retain good, young, competent teamsters and breeders with the same vision we have. We need to mentor them. We need to get the right horses in their hands. That doesn't mean whether or not they have $8,000 for a weanling. Sometimes if it's the right person, you just need to get the right horse in their hands. Make it possible. You can make money later. Nobody got to heaven being rich. You need to help them succeed with their horses, with their dreams and their endeavors. I don't know if you care if they want to be a market gardener. I don't care. I don't want to be a market gardener. But if that's what they want to do, help them win. I hope you will join the ABA in this honorable pursuit. Thank you for your attention this morning. I'd like to take any questions. Any questions? Somebody doesn't have questions. Somebody can challenge me or argue with me, or let's go over the long leg thing. There we go.
Your wife only had 2 colts. Is there a problem with the stud?
3. None of them look alike, but all 3. 3. They're all wonderful.
What do you see as some challenges coming ahead?
Honestly, the worst challenge, if you guys want to have this discussion, not a pretty one. It goes back to Adam and Eve. Just got rained on last night. Sorry about that, folks. Obviously, getting people working horses. Obviously, getting them onto our breed. Because there is the sucker punch out there. There are some good old-style Americans, Belgians. There are some good old-style Persians. I've even seen some good old-style Shires. So sometimes just getting them on board with our breed. But, major challenge going in the future. You'll have to excuse me, my father was a riverboat man. What is his stomach? Never got any better. Here. Sorry about the delay. It takes a long time to make a masterpiece. So if the ABA is a ship, as the ABA, we have a dedicated board. I can't say enough about the board. 14 months of weekly conference calls, sometimes bi-weekly. They were all perfectly civil and always agreed on everything, right, Susan? Ken? They're fun, weren't they? Hour and a half a night, sometimes twice a week, build our first handbook. And our first handbook has been mutilated. So we have a great board. So here's your board on the rudder. We're trying to steer the ship to our vision. To have that horse we had in the middle. We have breeders. And the breeders are our engines. They are our engines. They're producing our next generation. They're going to steer that ship a lot with what they produce. But if half the breeders are communicating with the board, pull ahead, back off a little bit, steer a little bit left and right, and half the breeders are not, that's a problem. Half the breeders are getting their commands from here, or they just can't stop thinking about the next sale. Ooh, you see them 2 sold for $19,000? I'm on the phone. I don't care what it looks like. Is it blue? Is it blue? Can I get it broke by the next sale? Can I get it in there? Will it produce blue, or can I get it the next sale? Can I make 20 grand on a piece, 40 grand on a team? That's actually hurting us. That's not a good thing. That's greed. It's money. Europe, panicking. Panicking they're going to lose their market over here. Panicking that we're shining light in their little closet, CPL. And their confirmation, I just went on CTL, I didn't even get on the confirmation here. Their confirmation has changed drastically too. You're not working your horse, you're not testing it the same way. You don't test a Cadillac the same as you do a truck. You got Europe, American Belgian, other breeds, wanting to take some of the few young people that want to work horses. I get that, they got to promote their stuff, but we're in competition with them actually. And you got the next sale barn, the next sale of a colt. They're trying to run us aground. And the board is trying to get us out into open water, promised land of good, clean, sane, healthy horses. Clean legs. Horse that can produce a colt till 20, break colts from the second half of its life, work lightly till it's 24 years old, not dead in the ground at 9. Not lame by the time it's 7. You just can't take looking at it every morning, so you have the vet euthanize it by 9. 2004 we imported a bunch, 2002 we imported a bunch. None of them are still here. None of them. That's a major challenge. We're trying to steer the ship. How many of the ABA board members are millionaires? Show of hands. How many of you made $1 million farm? We will, right at the end here, we're going to bring them down to question. How many of the board members are millionaires? How many have made $1 million breeding these horses? I mean, we've obviously changed the rules to benefit us, right? It's all about us. No. The board members just been at this the longest. We put the horses in the ground. And it stuck. Some of the horses, my first horse, Melissa, you see my first horse, he wasn't ugly.
That's how I fell in love with
100%. That's how she got in love with the breed. 100% European. He was awesome. And for a greener teamster, he was awesome. He was slow. He kept me out of a lot of trouble. I didn't know. I mean, Karen, did we know in the beginning? We wanted a massive bow and feathers, fine, whatever. We didn't know. We didn't know why he was up against every round bale race. Every fence. Everything he could get. Well, why is his leg bleeding? We didn't know in the beginning, but we do now. So we're just not going to keep hitting our heads against that same wall. Yeah. We're just trying to produce a good horse. I have maybe one colt. How long did it take you, Melissa, to get a colt? 3 years? I maybe have one colt a year to sell. I'm not making a business out of this. So when I give you advice, I'm not looking to sell you 50 colts next year. Dave, you have a couple to sell. You primarily produce mules with these heavy mares. Susan, you produce 1 or 2 to keep your carriage business going. You're not in the sale market. Ken, you have what, 1 or 2 to sell every year or 2? You're not making millions. Vet will take care of most of that if something goes wrong. So that's why we're doing it. Any other questions? If you have questions, yes.
I'm new to this, obviously, as everyone knows. How do you find people to mentor you? Are there people that you can pay to give you lessons on driving and hitching and all that kind of stuff?
There is.
I mean, not to sound silly, but I know nothing.
Yeah. No, and the best way to stay out of the emergency room is to say, I don't know nothing. Like if you're going to get a motorcycle, you just buy one and give her, or you say, I want to buy a motorcycle, I'm going to probably get some motorcycle lessons. Well, let's hear he's a doctor, he loves helmets. Keeps the mess contained, he said, over 100 miles an hour. Get lessons. Find somebody that's good. Who's good? Somebody that's actually, they look at their horses, do they look calm? Can they do anything he wants, she wants? And then approach them later, not during the parade. After their horses are tied to the trailer, approach them and say, hey, do you give lessons? I'd really like to learn. Yeah, there's people, but you're going to have to pay. How many universities are like, hey, come learn with us. We'd just be glad if you come stay here 4 years. You pay. How many violin teachers, piano teachers do it for free? Okay. You should expect to pay to learn a skill. Dave?
Join the ABA, find the local, most chapters, there's a local in your community, there's a drag horse mule club. Join the club.
Yep.
If you don't even own a horse, go join the club.
Yes, that's another misconception. I own a horse now, so I'm ready to join.
No, you don't have to own a horse to join. You don't have to own a horse to join the ABA.
Yeah. Now would be a good time to introduce the board and bring them down here with me for these questions. We have Dave Myers from Maryville, Missouri. Dave, you want to come around one end? You can go to that end. Susan Zinker is our vice president. Ken Gill, forever board member. Is that a nice way of saying it or not? Come around one way or the end, Ken. Who else is in here? Karen Gruner, you're not a board member. Just hold up your hand, Karen. She's our founder and historian. Heather Singer from Redwood, Minnesota. Please come around. I'm going to forget somebody and be in trouble again. We have 2 board members, Neil Campbell and Tamara Kowalczyk, and they're stuck in Canada. Can't get across the border. That is one answer. Another answer is, how do I find these horses? There'll probably be another question. Not Facebook. Facebook, I've said this before, Facebook is a digital coffee shop. Is all information that comes out of the coffee shop true and accurate and to your best interest?
However, we do have some videos that are coming up.
Yeah, we do. But don't make a $40,000 purchase based on Facebook.
Exactly.
Talk to a human being, go look and touch. Join the ABA. Join it for a year and get the newsletter and call into the calls. We have monthly conference calls. And they're awesome. They're so exciting. But yeah, you find out where the finances are and listen. And then find out who you might have tasked with Susan very much more than me. We're slightly different personalities. Never clash. Yeah, I guess so. This is most of the board. And then please, we got to get you the other two names that are not present. That's enough. Okay. Question.
Questions, and when you and your other people, when you start breeding and you bring in outside mares, which I don't know if you do you approve them and make sure they're clean?
We approve outside mares without allocating them, just strictly on 4 or 5 photographs.
But I mean, I'm talking.
The legs. The legs, no. That's a logistics problem. $100,000 a year, we'll sell the cows, I'll fly all over the nation. Do it. But no, it's not going to happen right now. We approve mares on looking. But we've done enough horses now, I can say we've disapproved mares on photographs. A fair amount. Dave?
I was gonna say just a little bit, if you bring me a mare to breed, I have to get in a 4-wheel drive pickup and chase it around the pasture to catch it, I'm just sending it back to you open. I'll guarantee you, it ain't gonna happen. So if you don't have a calm mare with a good head on it, I'm just gonna send it home.
And we tried to pick that out in photographs when we're approving or disapproving. For our book 3 mares, we currently don't have any book 3 stallions. Our stallions start at 25% European. What does that mean? That means it's got at least 25% verifiable European lineage post 1972. Yes, they're all Belgians. The Great Divide is 39 to 72. But no, we don't allocate the mares unless you bring them to us or you have us come to you at an event and you want your mare done. We don't do it for approval yet. Stallions, we're going to be a lot more stricter. Yes?
So, not to bring up what seems a difficult subject, but I'm first curious what your favorite color is.
My favorite color is sound, sane, and paid for.
Amen.
But my second question is a bit more serious. I know with yours, we've seen temperamental differences in the colors, as in just, and actually there's some research that shows that it's across all mammals. I'm sorry I can't offend any redheads here, but there are actually temperament differences with red genes. And
There is.
I'm just curious if you see that same thing.
I have 100% purely anecdotal evidence. My red mare is my hottest mare. She will get a lot done. My wife will tell you I'm very calm all the time. Dave's very calm all the time.
Won't say that.
Yeah. You don't stand close. But yeah, I do. I know that's that. Maybe you can cite evidence. You have a lot more time. I know he only went to UW-Madison, not River Palm, but he's went there a lot more years. But I can't cite that, but my red horse is my hottest. And I had a red horse before that was my hottest, but they get a lot of work done. You get him hooked. I don't know about that. My favorite color is sound. No, well, I do like a liver bay, but sound, sane, and paid for. Never noticing it and dropping a colt every year. That's my favorite color. Good feet. You know that. I don't know. I'm even driving a Dodge truck now, guys. I mean, I've given up all pride.
And speak the truth there.
Yeah.
I'm curious if the other board members have similar experience with the colors, you see a difference in okay.
No.
I have a blue mare that I consider hot, and so I don't use her maybe as much as I would in certain events.
Conan does too.
I have 3 bays, they're all level.
Yeah, her bays are really good.
I think they're more genetics than color.
Absolutely.
It's way more.
Yeah. My red mare that's hot is out of my blue mare that's hot. And was out of a red sire that was hot. It's just lines, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other questions? Anybody want to argue or fight? That's fun too. Anything? You got the board one time. Now, if you're not comfortable asking out here in the open, Not everybody likes to be the nail that stands up. Find one of us. We're all handsome fellows and ladies. Round us up, find us in private. Say, why did you say that? You know, I really disagree. Fine, let's have a discussion. But if you want it private, find us. Anything else, or should we move on, guys? Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Stick around. I got so far off. You got your Canadian flag. They try that, they try that. People are trying it. Some people are trying stem cell and fight.
There's no guarantee for that after they, if anything, what we can do is summarize it with some pictures.
I know that everybody.
So, the children,